Okay, we wanted to have 30 minutes of question and answer if you guys have your good questions. Microphones are here down on the floor. Go ahead and line up. And again, I would ask that you would keep your comments to the context of our discussion. Please direct your question to a specific side, and they will have 3 minutes to answer, and then the other side will have 1 minute to refute that. Okay? So those are our guidelines.
So many questions, but I'll stick to the last one. The carbon-14 dating. It's actually 50,000 years, not 60,000, just to clarify. But I was wondering where you think we came with that. Like, do you have an idea that scientists don't know about that geologists aren't aware that carbon-14 dating is only accurate up to 50,000 years? I mean, that's scientists that discovered that. They know the limitations, and the way that they're able to do that, I'll just leave it at that. How do you think that came about?
Okay, the first thing we have to look at is this. There are two kinds of scientists. There are the honest ones, and there are the not honest ones. Okay? You have the prejudiced scientists, and you have the scientists of integrity. And you find these people of integrity and honesty and corruption and lack of integrity in every field of study and endeavor on the face of the earth. It's not limited to them. So let's look at it. Let me finish. Charles Darwin knew experiments had been done to show life could not come from non-life. He ignored it. Charles Darwin wrote in, geez, I can't remember which of his writings it was, where he talked about the natives around the gloves as being cannibals. They're not. There are scientists who come up with statements based on observations and never bother to correct them, even though they believed them to be true at that time. We say that science is self-correcting. The fact of the matter is, like most people in most endeavors, it is self-correcting when they get caught. There is a tremendous amount of fraud that goes on within the theory of evolution, and don't get me wrong. There are a whole lot of liars that walk around calling themselves Christians as well. What we have to look at is what is the basis of our evidence. We know for a fact 5,730 years is the half-life of carbon-14. There is no way you're going to get a test to establish the age of something by carbon-14 beyond 60 years, because you won't have any carbon-14. If somebody says they can do it, they're lying.
No one's claiming that. I'm agreeing with you that it's actually 50,000 years for carbon-14. There's other methods for dating.
Yeah, argon, potassium.
I agree with you that it's 50,000 years, but you're presenting it as if we're trying to hide.
Excuse me. I appreciate your commentary. I really do. Not that you have to sit down, but no one else in mind. But let's keep your question. Give them 3 minutes to answer, which, by the way, you still have 45 seconds, and then you can respond.
Potassium-argon dating is another method of dating. It assumes that the daughter element only comes from the deterioration is one assumption. The other assumption is, in the molten state, all of the daughter element is burned out. That has been proven to be false on both counts. Therefore, potassium-argon cannot be trusted. If you want to see the slides on the experiments on that, I'll be very happy to show them to you. Thank you. 15 seconds?
10 now.
Maybe I'll sing a quick song. What do you think?
Please. All right, you have a minute to respond?
Okay, I do want to hit on other methods of dating things, because you're right, there are other methods, not just potassium argon, but also uranium. Names may have escaped me, but there are dozens, and they all point right around the same numbers for those that are in the same range. The statement that carbon-14 is based on, or carbon-14 dating is based on an assumption that the ratios of carbon-14 and carbon-12 have been standard throughout the history of the world is actually false. The carbon-14 dating system is calibrated using, among other things, tree rings, which we know develop 1 year, and we can actually go back and find tree rings that go back, that we can assemble the history of trees, fossil trees, back 100,000 years or so, and use that to calibrate our carbon-14 dating system. That's what we've done. It's about my time.
We're going 2 minutes off.
Oh, no, 2 minutes. Great.
Let's go 2 minutes. 5 minutes over.
Yeah, again, this is a situation of, like we talked about with all of the different branches of science coming to a model of the age of the universe and the age of the earth. It's not just one method. It's not just one method developed by a handful of scientists that we're counting on or relying on for these conclusions. It's a very broad range of sometimes interdependent, sometimes completely independent lines of evidence that all point to the same model. And so it doesn't just have to be that carbon-14 dating is wrong and that tree-ring dating is wrong. It has to be that they're all wrong and that for some bizarre reason they all point to the same wrong picture. They're not just all wrong. They all point to the same wrong picture. And so again, take a step back and look at it and say, this isn't just one group of scientists that proposed this. Scientists in every field point to conclusions that show a picture of an ancient Earth and an even older universe.
Sure.
Okay, I'm not a scientist, and I don't claim. Granted, okay, I don't claim to understand this stuff as good as probably you guys on stage. You probably studied it more than me. But I'm a philosopher, and I study philosophy of science. And I think the most interesting question here tonight that I have, and I think you guys should talk about and be concerned with, is the community of practitioners behind both sides, okay? That seems more interesting to me. So basically what I'm saying is, let's look at who's promoting the young Earth theory. It's not just a coincidence that it's promoted mostly by the Christian community. Okay, look at the motivation behind it. Okay, you claim that scientists are denying evidence, but look at the community of practitioners of credible scientists. They constantly revise their theories, going from a flat Earth to a round Earth, going to saying, the Earth was the center of the universe, saying, the Earth revolves around the sun. That's what they do. Going from, instead of there being, the 4 humors to the germ theory of disease, to the atom, they constantly revise their theories based on new evidence. That's what science does. However, look at your community of practitioners. You've had the same theory for 2,000 years. You haven't revised it. You haven't revised it. Okay? You seem to be denying evidence more. And again, this presentation tonight seems to just back up my theory. Instead of responding really to anything that they said, you just presented more slides you already have prepared.
Good question in this.
Yeah, my question is this. How do you respond? I want you to respond to one thing that they said that I think was the hardest to respond to, is that how do you deny the entire scientific community in every area, astronomy, chemistry, physics, anthropology? How do you deny science? You should be attacking the scientific method as a whole, not just C14, dating method, the entire scientific method, hypothesis, observation, etc.
Okay, simple. There are a lot of scientists say the Earth did not have the same content of oxygen in its early days it does now. We find amber with bubbles of air in it. We find the oxygen levels 50,000, with theoretically, if you date the amber, 50,000 years ago, with oxygen levels 50% higher than they are now. So what happens? Somebody comes along and revises a theory. We find out that carbon-14, something that this can't be done or that can't be done. A theory is revised, a theory is revised, a theory is revised. But it's always revised in the face of new evidence. And then that theory has to fight for its survival in the face of the momentum of what exists. So if you want me to change my opinion about the Bible, I'll give you a very simple challenge. Prove to me where it's wrong. Give me an example where it's wrong, because if you actually take a